Hey guys, welcome back to the Makefile series. We're going to be covering for each functions, which is the closest thing that Makefile has to a for loop or maybe even a while loop. This for each function is a function that lets you iterate over values in a list. So when I say list, really make just has one type of variable that is kind of a string. And when I say list, I mean a string that has white space separated words. So here, this is you can think of this as a list of 3 words: Africa, Asia, and Europe. And the syntax of a for loop up here is for each variable name. So here we have region for the variable name. The variable that has the list, so in our case, regions, and then an expression using that variable. So this can be a simple expression or a complicated expression. I believe it has to all be on the same line, so you can't split it up like this. And when you do this, the for each function, it doesn't modify this existing regions variable at all. What it does is it replaces this part with an expression that duplicates this body of the for loop here with the region variable. So essentially, in this example, we have regions equals Africa, Asia, Europe. What hello regions is going to be after this expands is hello dash Africa, from here hello dash region for Africa. And then same thing with Asia and Europe. So it does that for each of the values, each of the white space separated values in regions. You can, in this case, we're storing the result here in the hello regions variable. You can leave it as is like this, but that is kind of meaningless. Actually, that might even give an error. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. Yeah, so it just says like, hey, I don't know what I'm looking at. So we're storing it in a variable, and we have this other target named hello all, and we're saying that it depends on every single target in this variable. We can combine that with multi-target rules to dynamically create rules for a number of dynamically generated targets. So with this makefile, we actually have the hello Africa targets, and same with hello Asia, even though we didn't explicitly write these anywhere in the makefile. Now here I use this as kind of a string manipulating function. There are more specialized functions to work with strings, so you don't really need the for each in this example, but I wanted to use it here to show you how you can do that if you want to. For each is maybe the simplest, but it's also in some cases the most powerful function. Now let's look at another possible use case. You might try this and wonder why it doesn't work. What we tried to do over here, let's read through it. We have the for each function again, and the same thing, region variable, iterating over regions. And this time, instead of doing hello dash region to store the target names in hello regions, we're actually trying to put the entire rule over here. So notice that we're not storing the result of this function in a variable. We're just printing it as is, like raw, into the makefile. And this is the rule: hi dash region colon to separate the rule from the prerequisites. We don't have any prerequisites. And then we have a semicolon indicating that we're starting the recipe. And finally, our recipe is echo $at. The reason we have $2 is because if we just do $at, this is going to get expanded immediately, the same way that $regions gets expanded immediately. And since we're not in a recipe, we don't have a variable named $at. So we want to defer the expansion of this variable until later on. So that's why we escape the $sign to avoid that. So does this work? Let's give that a shot. We expect it to say hi dash Africa, Asia, and Europe. I'm gonna run that. Hi, let's say Europe. And it says no rule to make target hi Europe. What happened over here? let's go through it. Let's see what this expands out to manually. Let's go through that exercise. The first thing, this region is going to expand to Africa. Echo $$@ is going to be $@. And then it's going to continue. We have the same thing again. And this time it's going to be Asia. Do you see the problem here? We'll do that one more time. And finally, Europe. What happens is that the first time, the first region here gets the rule properly created. So we have the High Africa rule. Let's run that. But the rule has one long recipe that consists of this entire string. So we didn't create multiple rules. We created one rule that has a very long recipe, and that's why we're echoing a whole bunch of stuff over here. So be wary of the way you use for each. Now, if you do want this to if you do want to get this to work the way a human would expect it to work, you can do that using the eval function, but that's a more advanced topic, and we'll get to that in future videos. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.